So now I will move on to deputations by appointment and invite Peter Morrison from Hospitality New Zealand to come forward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is Nikki Rogers, our Regional Manager too. So it's a dual act. Nikki will start and I will finish for you.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Hospitality New Zealand, the Canterbury branch, we'd like to start by just saying the Greater Canterbury area, we represent 510 members. All are fully supportive of our stance. We're here to advocate for the going forward at top speed, the 30,000 permanent seat high-spec stadium with concourse to enable us to attract and confirm international music and sports events and tournaments. This will certainly help cement Christchurch as a desirable place to live and consequently attract more businesses to base themselves here and more residents to live. This obviously means more ratepayers, and this helps offset the increased cost of the additional 150 million. This, in addition to the extra revenue these larger events will generate for the local economy. Councillors, we entirely sympathise that you are asked to now make a further decision. You now have more facts around the 150 million price difference and that it can be met. I want you to remember that your own Christchurch International Airport, that is a vital asset in your Christchurch Holdings company. It relies on getting more persons through its gates. You also own Littleton Port, that is forward-thinking, allowing for bigger ships. You and Otakaro have spent billions to revitalise our city. You both have given us the following first-class facilities: Margaret Mayhew Playground, Tauranga, our public library, Tipai Convention Centre, which is now open and booming, Parakore Recreation Sports Centre, opening at the end of this year, Hagley Cricket Oval, all first-class and future-proofed for the city's next 50 to 80 years. In August, Hospitality New Zealand will sponsor the Grand National Hurdles at Riccarton Racecourse. They have just heavily invested tens of millions in an all-weather track for the South Island, again, future-proofed. Sadly, there appears to be little vision in this whole country when it comes to government and councils. They are reactionary, not progressive in their thinking. Sure, it costs money when it comes to building for the future, but remember, it will never get any cheaper than it is today. Councillors, these are exceptional times and demands exceptional leadership by you all. This is your chance to leave a legacy for the city. Do it once, do it right. Vote yes for today.
Thank you. I've got a bit of technology here, just a minute. I'm not good at it.
So luxurious.
Oh, we don't need
so
the
decadent. Indulge in all new cuppity yogurt.
bit of, here we go. Imagine there's a stadium. It's easy if you try. No empty land wasted. Above us only a roof. Imagine all your people living for today. And then you can all go da 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 da. Imagine there's no politics. I wonder if you can. No need for businesses to plunder. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all your people sharing this with the world. You may say we are dreamers, but we're not the only ones. 27,000. I hope today that you'll join us, and the city will move on as one. There you go. Any questions?
Our chief executive.
My apologies to the late John Lennon.
Our chief executive has had thousands, well, not thousands, 33 years in local government, and that was a first, and it's certainly the first karaoke submission. So thank you very much for appearing in front of us today. Certainly very effective. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
The next is William Stewart.
Sure. Hopefully the mic's going to work.
Yep.
Not expecting to be very popular today. I'll get straight into it. So New Zealand has a strong history as a sporting country. This dates back to a time where that was the main leisure activity. And, you know, coming from the 90s myself, our entertainment choices were 3 channels on TV. And if you were rich, you had a VCR. Or you could go outside and do something with people. We now live in a world where there is the internet. There are video games, there are online streaming video, there is social media. No longer are we restricted to 3 channels on TV. We can literally access anything, anytime in the palm of our hands. That obviously results in a change in the way that we spend our free time. Past performance is not a measure of future results. There are many trend lines that show a decrease in sporting as the main leisure activity. I only have 3 minutes. I won't go into it too deeply. I'm sure that many people have looked at this. These are just a few. Rugby, the national pastime in New Zealand, has fallen participation rates, the next generation of players, and it's not just the players. Stadiums across the country and across the world face falling attendance even before the pandemic. And with the possibility of future pandemics on the horizon, that could only grow greater. With so many other activities on offer, we need to understand that it's natural that stadiums will face a reduction in use and in need. Future generations will continue, if not accelerate, this decline. There are many things that would bring the city greater economical benefit and better people's lives and build for the future than a $700 million facility that caters towards the needs of the past and the wants of a few and condemns the future to follow. I'm not saying we shouldn't fund sporting facilities, but I don't think we should fund it to this scale. I think that spending some money on improving the existing facilities would be a far better use of funds. And I think that we need to think about, in the concept of the current stadium costing us $1 million a year compared to $700 million for the stadium, are we going to get 700 years of use out of this facility? Thank you.
Thank you. Just one question, because you raised Gen Z, was it? Gen Y and Gen Z, their trajectory on esports is quite different from what you've just shown there. Do you have any knowledge about that?
Most of the data I've looked up in the time I've been looking at this presentation does show a decline from the 1980s. And my concern is that a lot of people making submissions are tracked into that way of thinking. And I'm not, trying to throw stones at anyone, but if you come from a generation where sports was a huge part of your life, then you're going to be thinking that's the way forward.
I'm thinking esports, where you get 30,000 come to a stadium and millions online.
Definitely, but we're not going to necessarily have that event happening in Christchurch very often. And the other thing I didn't even mention is that with the Dunedin Stadium, if Christchurch goes and builds a new stadium, we're going to be taking away revenue and use from that, and we're going to be fighting with them.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you. We've got Crusaders and Canterbury Rugby together.
Kia ora. I'm Grant Gerald, Chairman of Crusaders, also Director of Canterbury Rugby Union. Colin Mansbridge beside me, CEO of Crusaders, and Tony Smale, CEO of Canterbury Rugby Football Union. But two of us will be addressing you today. So tēnā koutou, Your Worship, the Mayor, Councillors and CCC staff. Thank you for allowing us to present to you this morning. Today, Council has the privilege to be able to approve the go-ahead on the construction of Otatahi's multi-use arena to Kaha. The name in itself, to me, says it all. Be strong. Crusaders understands how momentous a decision this is for Council. As the Mayor has said, and even earlier today, on many occasions, decisions like this are never straightforward, financially or socially. Cost escalation was always going to be a risk when the project commenced. No one foresaw the severity of the ongoing impact of COVID, Ukraine, other inflationary pressures. In fact, in the past 10 years, inflation has counted at 25%, which essentially is 130 million of 683 million for the cost of the multi-use arena. While options have been offered to Council to consider, naturally and in the interests of our fans and supporters and those of other sports and major events and the community at large who support events, we're urging the Council to adopt the option to proceed with the multi-use arena. Stop altogether after all that has happened and the investment being made to date seems unrealistic, as does pause and reevaluate. There are several reasons we urge Council to affirm continuation of the project. Today, Council can make a decision to complement Te Pai and Parakouri, the Metro Sports Facility and the Convention Centre, and make Otatahi whole again. While Council's ownership of this project only stems from 2019, the concept of a multi-use arena has been around for a decade. For that whole time, we have all tried and hoped to continue to see this project foster for the benefit of our city, befitting Otatahi status as number 2 city in New Zealand. Both Council and Government's commitment to push on to complete the anchor projects has inspired businesses to remain committed to the city. Those businesses include us at Crusaders. In December 2019, Council approved, and in March 20, Cabinet endorsed Council's ownership of the project to construct the multi-use arena. Council has engaged a world-leading designer to design the arena, not just a sports stadium, but a multi-use arena. 683 million for a venue capable of hosting events all year round, designed specifically for multi-use and more than 200 events per year in mind, is likely to provide exceptional community value for decades to come, with massive economic and social payback. For a decade, Crusaders, noting now we have a new professional women's rugby team, Matatu, have held off looking for a rugby-only solution because we have appreciated the need to be part of the multi-use arena project. For Crusaders to survive, continue to beat our competitors and aim to be even better for our fans in the long term, we would benefit from being able to play Super Rugby and possible other international club competitions at the multi-use arena, and will pay our fair share to do so, as we have always done. We don't represent New Zealand rugby, but we can speak to the incredible desire we know our fans will have to see the All Blacks and Black Ferns playing in Christchurch more regularly. Finally, we believe the Kotui Consortium have extracted as much uncertainty as is practical in the environment with a fixed price contract. Around 8 out of the 10 people who responded to the consultation urged or sought Council to proceed. My last point, when a number of us were invited by the Mayor to walk through the old Lancaster Park a few years ago pre-demolition, when a possible repair was touted, it wasn't the broken steel and the concrete that we all looked at. It was the fading memories of events that we and so many generations of people in this city have enjoyed that were being lost to the current generation that really hurt us. It was sad because the current generation was to miss out. As the leaders in our community, I'm sure we all felt, as I did then, that it is our obligation to do whatever we can to replace what we had so the next generations can experience the creation of special memories. We urge Council to proceed and entrust that you make the right decision to do so today that will enable Otatahi for generations to come to prosper. Kia kaha, ngā mihi nui, kia ora koutou, katoa. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tony Smale, Canterbury Rugby CEO, and with me today I have Fiona Smith, our Community Rugby Manager. Thank you for the opportunity to present on Canterbury Rugby support for a Canterbury multi-use arena, something I'm proud to do on behalf of our organisation's 15,000 playing members and 6,000 volunteers, all in the community game. We're aware Canterbury Rugby, or as you're aware, Canterbury Rugby encouraged all its members to exercise a vote when submissions opened, and we also encourage other significant sports to reach out to their members to have a voice. Not with a message on how to vote, simply that they should express their view on such an important Canterbury decision. We are supportive that it's a multi-use arena, have held that position since Canterbury Rugby were engaged around 2 years ago in the stakeholder consultation group and arena design working group. We've been included alongside other sports like football and rugby league in any design requirements and see multi-user groups accessing the facility when it's built. The opportunity of what the multi-use arena will bring to the City of Christchurch is where the excitement actually kicks in for Canterbury Rugby's members, and there are two phases in a new multi-use arena, the sporting and the cultural. Phase 1 is world-class facilities to encourage national and international sports teams to our city. I can mainly present rugby examples of what we have at the moment. Women's rugby is compromised at our existing venue with only 2 changing rooms. Most venues can accommodate 4. Our Canterbury women's team will play twice this year at the stadium, once before the Black Ferns, once before our men's teams. Both occasions they'll have to leave after the game to have shower and change. Staggering, after 10 years we can't provide those facilities. Christchurch hosted matches with the World Cup for Women of Cricket at Hagley Oval, and Christchurch wasn't selected to host any games in the World Cup of Rugby being played this year, and will only be a training venue, no games for the World Cup Women's Football. That's the effect our current stadium has, isn't truly fit for international, can't deal with female sports, and the city's losing the opportunity of major events. Phase 2 of the arena is what most citizens want. It's genuinely exciting. We need to re-establish our cultural and wellbeing heart in Christchurch. The city needs a firm heart, and the last of the 5 anchor projects is that a Canterbury multi-use arena. 5 anchor projects were envisaged in a reborn city as they all complete each other. I reference Lancaster Park, the concerts, the sports events, the cultural events. Who is hosting those memories that are coming from the present stadium? The Mayor herself, in reopening Lancaster Park a few weeks ago back to community, spoke of the experience and memories etched in her life. I moved a young family 20 years ago here to Christchurch, and a major factor was the international experiences, lost after 10 years. Before living here, I travelled 8 hours in a car for weekends to see Tina Turner, U2 and major concerts. It was pretty awesome. Everyone from the South Island will come here. That's what happened. Most people in Christchurch have those memories, and a major venue draws people from all over, and one with a roof is a major draw card for promoters. We've been missing events for 10 years that shape people's lives. Been a generation already that have missed out. Our city, our province, our children and their children deserve a multi-use arena with a roof that puts Canterbury back on the map. Wish you well in your decision today. The submission voters have signalled a strong intent, and from Canterbury Rugby we only see one outcome, but to support the build of a multi-use arena starting tomorrow. It's been 10 or 11 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your submission or deputation. The next one is Helen Broughton, who's online.
Thank you. Am I there, Leanne, or not?
Yes, you are.
Oh, thank you. I have 3 minutes. I came in because I was involved with the cost sharing agreement in 2013. I was there on the final day when it was signed, and I recall being in the Mayor's Lounge with Mayor Bob Parker, Ian Thompson as a senior lawyer, and Tony Marriott, the CE. So we were involved in the detail of the cost sharing agreement. But I do want to stress that when it came to council the previous week, some people were anxious about the stadium, and we were told very clearly by central government, who at that stage had more control over the city than they have now. We were told very clearly that we took all the anchor projects. We couldn't pick and choose. So I think it's really important today to recognise that. There was 2.9 billion from central government, 1.96 billion from council, and we actually took all those projects on and signed that agreement. And I do think we have to live with that agreement. I think you've done some updating in 2019, but from what I read, it's much the same for the stadium. The second point I want to make, that any costing we had at that time would have been the best estimate of costings. There was no detailed design. So it's not surprising that there's an extra 500 million which you have approved to go onto the actual cost, because you've done a detailed design. So you're left now with an extra, I thought it was 100 million, and it could be 150 million. I just think you need to bite the bullet and do this. If it had been done earlier as planned, you mightn't have that extra 150 million, but it was moved out to the 2015-2025 long-term plan. And I think everyone who's doing construction now has costs. So how do you do this? I am very strong on the fact that it should be a targeted rate, and I think it should be a targeted rate across neighbouring councils. I have checked with ECAN, and ECAN can legally do a targeted rate. There's no legal barrier. I'm not sure that they would get support for that, but it can be done. And I think that 150 million needs to be a targeted rate across Canterbury if you can achieve that. Thank you.
Look, thank you very much, and you've just come in within the time that's been allocated. Much appreciated. Glad to hear that you were there. You were in the room when it happened. Okay, thank you very much. The next submission is Josiah Tualama Maliki. Sorry. Thank you.
Malo lava, Madam Mayor and councillors, it's great to see you all. And as you consider the further funding of the stadium today, I know I've emailed you, so you've got that in our community submissions over the last little while, but we would just ask that collectively you'd make a recommendation that resources the Pacific community participation in any future option. And can I please mihi to Nigel Cox, one of our Pacific community members who's been involved and is helping with this process. But I feel like it's been a challenge for Nigel to be able to do all that he'd want to do because of some of the resource challenges that he experiences. And just to be clear, we haven't talked about that. That's just my personal observation. On October 23rd, 1969, Trinity Congregational and St. Paul's Trinity Presbyterian Churches merged, and with the Pacific Island Church congregation took up that site on the corner of Cashel and Madras, a very important Pacific site. This became our Pacific Village here in the city. It was our important engagement with the council, and it was where our dances, our community celebrations took place, our fundraisers so that our community could participate in national experiences. That's where we shared our grief at some of the losses of our mātua, and some of the mātua we acknowledge there, I'd just like to name in this conversation, Mama Tafunga of the Cook Islands community and Reverend lapana whale tolu. This land for us is tapu, and this has continued right through until post-quake, till as a Pacific wellbeing hub, which obviously during the earthquake period we couldn't access because because of the cordons. But even though the church buildings and the building itself ended up being closed, the community hall has been that place of connection for the community up until the last service and the last community events on February 4th, 2018. And Aotearoa, as we know, is a Pacific country. It's great to see the Prime Minister and the country at the Pacific Islands Forum trying to help deepen our relationship and our whanaungatanga in the Pacific. This is the second largest Pacific city in Aotearoa. And if this goes ahead today in whatever form, this is going to be on a site of Pacific connection. And also, the congregation that formed became a multicultural congregation. And almost on the cusp of 50 years of occupation and sharing of that site. So I think, and I take the comment from the Crusaders, fading generations of memories, and that's at risk on this site too. So please, whatever decisions you do make, can you make a recommendation that the resources that haven't been there, and I know there's been support from this level, but there's some things have gotten stuck. Can you please help enable our aspirations for the design and the use and the long-term effect of this, and please help be a guardian that our community stories don't get lost in this place, and that can then be a connection for the Pacific region and for the world. Tofte.
Thank you so much for that. And I just think I think you mentioned that the kinds of Pacifica events that could be held there that then wouldn't be weather dependent. Do you want to just reflect on that for a minute?
Yeah, sure. One of the most significant events that takes place in the city is our Polyfest. It's been great, and thank you all for those of you who come. And that's been hosted in the east, in the Red Zone land, which has been a great activation of that space. But one of the aspirations I've had for a long time is that in the heart of our city, that our community would be participating and activating the central city. And as a site with this significance, that could be an important use. There's also our community markets, our Pacific League series, which is run in Hunhei, that communities probably wouldn't want to relinquish some of those things, but there is opportunities that with this whakapapa of this site, if honoured, there's flow-on benefit and belongingness implications.
That's great. Look, thank you very much for your presentation this morning. It's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last of the submissions is the Central City Business Association. Oh, Annabelle. Hello.
Good morning, everyone. The Central City Business Association strongly believe that the council should proceed with Te Kaha in accordance with the scope agreed back in August last year. It's time for the council and the councillors to show leadership, be decisive and aspirational, and recommit to kahaha without further delays. It would be a world-class facility of which the city and the region would be very proud of. It would complete the city, and it would truly make Christchurch a city that shows that it loves art, it loves sport, and it means that the city is a world-class city for generations to come. We are the second biggest city in New Zealand, and we are the biggest city in the South Island. Without the completed multi-use arena, it would mean missed opportunities for the city, and the region will be left behind. Events and concerts will just go elsewhere. Canterburyans won't be able to attend events and concerts in their own city. And it would mean that we would be able to have a large number of visitors in our city and our region. The multi-use arena has been promised to the people and the businesses of Christchurch. Christchurch landowners have invested in developments. International, national and local businesses have committed to the central city with the promise of a multi-use arena. Te Kaha would give landowners, funders, prospective tenants confidence to commit to the central city. The council would further benefit with private development. Those vacant and derelict sites will be developed, and development will increase the rateable value of properties, resulting in an increase in the council's annual rates. It is necessary for supporting long-term economic prosperity of Christchurch during the construction and once completed. The facility is going to create jobs. It's going to support economic activity in Christchurch and in Canterbury. There is no cheaper time to build Te Kaha than now. And there is government funding in place to support the cost of the project. We strongly believe that the only viable option for the council is to proceed with the project as approved back in August last year. The people have spoken, with over 12 times as many people submitting on Te Kaha compared to the $10 billion long-term plan. The numbers are there. The options to pause and re-evaluate the stadium or to stop it are not viable options. So on behalf of the members of the Central City Business Association, my staff, my customers, my children and the future generation of Cantabrians, we urge you to show your decisiveness, to show ambition for the future of Christchurch, and to accept the cost increase now that you've secured a fixed price and deliver us a fit-for-purpose, world-class facility that will benefit Christchurch, Canterbury, and the future generations of Cantabrians. To make any other decision, including deferring the decision until after the local body elections, would put the project at risk. It would put the future of Christchurch at risk. We need a world-class stadium for our world-class city.
Oh, I was just supporting. I can speak.
Hand holding.